everyone, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my October wrap-up. I have read 12 and a half books this month and I'm pretty proud of myself. So I'm going to go through them because it's probably going to be very long. So let's do this. This month I tried to read as many like creepy fall recommendation-ish books so that way you can find some books if you want to still find the perfect thriller, mystery, dark book for the fall. The first one was a strong hit and it is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and this one I gave a 5 stars, which I don't give that easily, but I had so much fun reading this book. This is a thriller sci-fi book, so there is a little bit of like science in there, but it's not overwhelming that if you're not into it, don't know much, that it's going to be too much for you. Obviously with thrillers, the less you know, the better it is, so I'm not going to say too much, but basically this made me really rethink a lot of like small decisions that can change your whole life. And basically you're following the main character that goes to a bar one night and kind of gets kidnapped, and he wakes up and his life is not his life and he's just trying to figure it out. So every time that book was starting to slow down a little bit, there was already a twist coming up and I was like, okay then, never mind. I don't know what's gonna happen. So if you were already looking at this book and you were thinking about getting it, I highly recommend it. I had a lot of fun reading it. I wasn't 100% happy with the ending, but no matter what, I decided to give it a 5 stars and it's totally worth the read. I wanted to continue reading more V.E. Schwab's books, so this month I went with Vicious, and this book was so much fun. I overall gave it a 4 stars. The writing was still amazing, just as much as in her other books. You're following 2 main characters, and it keeps going back and forth, present and past, and they used to be best friends in university, but something happened, you don't know why, but now they are basically sworn enemies. And what's interesting in there is that there's a little bit of a twist, like magical in there. Basically think like superhero, but like super villain. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a standalone book, but I believe there might be a second book coming out. And there is a little bit of a prequel available online. So if you're interested in reading more about it, but it stands really well on its own. So if you don't like to read too many series, which I know fictions, especially fantasy book, tend to have like way too many series, and sometimes I like to break it up by having a standalone. So if you want to just read it on its own, you can totally do this, and I thought it was a really fantastic read. I think I went a little bit overboard with the dark, creepy books, and I ended up being a little fed up with it, and I read just so many, but I did enjoy most of them, or at least liked most of them. The first book I read was Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This book was so creepy because I kept imagining myself in the shoes of the main character. It was just very, very strange. You don't know exactly what happens, but people one day start going cuckoo whenever they see something. You don't know what, but then as soon as they see it, they start killing other people and then they kill themselves. It's just very strange. So people have to hide themselves in their house, just black out all the windows, not look outside, or if they have to go outside, they will have to like just hide their eyes, close their eyes, and just hope for the best. So you're following the main character throughout the story, and there is some details that are so gory and just kind of creepy, but overall I enjoyed it. It was very, very different than what I expected. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It was different. It's a little bit slow paced because you are going back and forth in the past whenever it started to the present where the person is trying to go somewhere. So there is a little bit of a pacing problems that I had, but overall I really enjoyed it. Very dark, so if you are looking for a new book for the fall, that might be the one for you. The next book though was just very creepy, and I read You by Carolyn Kepnes, and you're following the story through the eyes of a stalker, and it really, really messes up with your mind because sometimes you feel bad for him and you're like trying to root for him, but then you're like, but he's the stalker. That's just so weird. And a lot of the characters in there are not really likable. So obviously you still feel bad for them for like being stalked and everything, but at the same time you feel bad for him because they're not necessarily nice people to him, and it just plays with your head. If you have read this book, you will know what I mean. It's just really creepy. Because you're seeing it through the eyes of the stalker, there's a lot of like, you did this, you did that, and it starts making you feel like you're the one being stalked. So if you're looking for a book that will make you feel a little uncomfortable, this is definitely the one I would recommend here. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I overall enjoyed it. It was a really long book, but every time things were starting to slow down a little bit, there was another twist and I was like, okay then, this is not done. I know there is a sequel, but I don't think I'm gonna read it because I think I had my dose of creepiness with this one. I decided to read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins because the movie is out. I actually haven't seen it yet. I was supposed to, didn't go yet, so that needs to happen, but I wanted to read the book before watching the movie. You're following the story through the eyes of the main character, who is an alcoholic. Once again, this is a type of book that the characters are not likable, so if it's something that is a turnoff for you, might not be the right book, but it gets a little frustrating whenever you're following an alcoholic because, you know, you want her to do well, but it's hard whenever you're under the influence all the time. She basically sees something one day when she's taking the train, and she basically tries to solve a mystery, a murder, so yeah. I decided to give it a 4 stars, even though I could see the end coming. There was still some little twist that I was like, okay, that's worse than I thought, and I had fun. So I gave it a 4 stars, and I thought it was a good read. I will see the movie, and I do recommend reading the book. I think it's worth it. It's pretty short, like it's not that long to read. There's just over 300 pages, so it's a pretty quick read, and I had fun. Next, I read More Than This by Patrick Ness, which, can we talk about the cover? Like, how stunning is this? I really like the cover. This book was a little strange. It's hard to explain it without saying too much, but you're following a guy that remembers dying, and then he wakes up and he doesn't know where he is. This is his house, this is his neighborhood, but there's no one, and he just has no idea what happened. Is he dead? Is he in heaven, in hell? He has no clue. So this book has multiple parts in there, and I do feel like the first part was just a bit weird. I was like, you have no idea what's happening, but then eventually things really pick up and you're like, oh, now it makes sense. Still a bit strange, but it makes sense. It's another book that I can't say too much without revealing everything, but I believe I gave it a 4 stars. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, and it ended up being more interesting than I expected. It is a pretty long book though, so just don't be afraid whenever the first third you're like, okay, it's a little slow pace. It will pick up and it becomes very interesting. I participated in the 24-hour readathon and read 2.5 books, and the next day I finished the one that I was like slugging through. I'm gonna start with that one. This one was Inhalation by Jeff Vandermeer, and this was such a strange book. I had heard a lot of good reviews about it, and I was pretty disappointed with it overall. The premise is really interesting. You're following 4 girls that go to Area X. They're the 12-13 expedition, and every time someone goes in there, they either kill themselves, kill each other, or they come back and they're just really weird. And honestly, I'm still not 100% sure I completely understood where this was going. I feel like I've been reading so many books that I'm realizing what I like and what I don't like in books, and I'm not into whenever the author keeps things vague to make it mysterious, because to me it's just like a lack of they couldn't find an idea that was good enough to be creepy, that they had to just leave it weird. I don't know if you have read this book, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I would love to discuss it because it's very, very strange. You can't say much without ruining it, but at the same time it's just very strange. So I couldn't finish this book whenever I was doing the readathon. I had to finish it the next day. I went through half of it and I was like, what is this? So yeah, to be honest, even being done with it, I'm still, what is this? I gave it a 2 stars simply because I really liked the premise. It just didn't live up to my expectations at all. Second book, I felt so bad saying that I didn't love it, and I'm sure some people are gonna freak out, but it just wasn't for me. This is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, and I know he's super popular, his writing is supposed to be amazing, but this was just so not for me. I wasn't sure what rating I would give it at first. I think I gave it at first a 3 stars. Now I'm reducing it at 2, and I don't know if I should give it 1. This just really wasn't for me. You're following a guy, an older man, that goes back to where he grew up, and then there's just memories coming back to him, and it started fine, but it ended up being just so strange, like mythical, almost fairy tale-ish, and it wasn't for me. I don't feel like I can say much more without ruining it, but no. But I finished that readathon on a very good note, or very sad note, but it was still a 5-star read. So I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this was so sad. I this was sad. I was basically crying at the end, and I don't cry easily, so that says it all. The book is absolutely stunning. Whenever you turn the pages, there's some stunning drawing too. You're following a 13-year-old boy that start being visited by a monster, and that's basically what the story is. And it was good. I liked it. It was very sad. Definitely something that if you have anything that is similar to a story that's going to be touching for you, you're probably gonna cry. After reading all those creepy books, I needed something that was a little bit more of a quick read. It was still sad, but a lot faster to read. You can easily read this book in a day if you decide to do so. And it is 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. This book, it's still a sad read simply because it talks about suicide. You're following a guy that receives 13 tapes where there's a girl that explains why she killed herself. Every tape is about someone, one of the reasons why she did it. It was very interesting. I give it 4 stars and I did enjoy it. I would probably reread this. It was really a fast-paced book. Do I agree with everything that was written in there? Probably not, but I do think it was a good read. I almost forgot that I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. It was my first time reading it in English. Enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars. I don't think you can do anything wrong by reading or rereading Harry Potter. So fantastic. I'm going to continue my readathon, reading the books one at a time and going through them. And yeah, English or French is still good, to be honest. It is different because the terms are different. It's hard to explain, but it almost feels less home than it does when I reread them in French, but it's probably because I didn't grow up reading these. Still fun. The last book that I finished was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, which I think at that point I was kind of fed up with dark books, which I'm going to be careful next month to just mix it up a little bit more. It's another book where the main character is not likable. Is it normal considering her situation? Yes, but I'm not used to reading so many books where I don't really root for the main character. I think that's just something I will have to like do more often, but in little bits instead of all in one go like I did this month. The main character is a girl that grew up really poor, and she was in the house whenever her mom and 2 older sisters got killed, and her brother is in prison because of this. And she's basically, not really willingly, but because someone is paying her, she's trying to find out what really happened because she doesn't think that her brother did it. And you're following the story. I did enjoy it. I give it a 3.5 stars simply because I do feel like the beginning was a little slow paced for my taste, but then at the ending, there's a twist that happens really fast and I didn't feel like it was long enough for my taste. I don't know. Overall, I did really enjoy it. Less than Gone Girl, but still a good read. Definitely a very dark thriller-ish book, so if you're looking for a new one to read, this is definitely an option. Last book, I'm almost done with it, but I'm just gonna quickly just mention the story because I didn't put it in my TBR and I was hoping I would finish it, but there's like 400 something pages and I have still like 150 pages to go through. So this is The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. The main character is a man that is drinking at a bar at an airport, and there's a woman sitting next to him and they start talking, and he basically says that he wants to kill his wife. The thriller kind of continues on that side, and I don't want to say too much because the less you know in thrillers the better, but this I thought would be very like the average thriller, but there's definitely more twists than I thought there would be. So far I am enjoying it, but obviously I'm gonna finish it this month. So that's it, guys. Those are all the books that I read this month. I think I did pretty good. If you were looking for more fall recommendation, there's definitely some good ones in there. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and to subscribe if it's not already done, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.